They have been working very hard to devise a strategy that would allow them to put you in a trap, and it is about to be put into action. What appears to be an appealing offer will soon be presented to you. It will be one that looks to be precisely fitted to your desires and the circumstances that you are currently facing. It will appear to be the very opportunity that you have been looking forward to, and it will come at the very moment when you are at your most vulnerable. They have been analyzing your habits, determining your weaknesses, and coming up with an offer that they believe you won't be able to refuse since you have the necessary strength. Every aspect of their plan is predicated on a single, crucial assumption: that you will not detect the trap until it is too late to do anything about it. Your name will be penned on fancy stationery, and the return address will belong to someone you recognize, someone who has influence. The envelope will arrive on a day that is otherwise typical. Once you open the envelope, you will find an invitation that will make your heart skip a beat. This is the moment that they have been planning for. The foundation of every great deception is unquestioning confidence. They have estimated your response based on information that is no longer current, and they continue to view you as the same person you were 6 months ago, hungry, desperate, and eager to compromise. As a result, they believe that you will fall into this trap. An opportunity, a chance, or a door that is supposed to open is what the offer seems to be, and it appears to be rather benign. However, the offer is not the final setup. Rather, it is your faith. They do not require you to sign right away. Rather, they require you to participate, to show curiosity, to inquire, and to enter the labyrinth that they have made around you. There was never any intention of this being a contract. Rather, it was always intended to be a test of your discernment. Those traps that are the most successful are not hidden. Rather, they are camouflaged as precisely what it is that you have been looking for. Always keep in mind the knowledge that is concealed in plain sight. The greatest trick that the devil ever accomplished was convincing the world that he did not exist. They are doing this in order to blind your perception and count on your desire. They are making the assumption that you will fail to recognize the conditions that are associated with their purported generosity. They are anticipating that your thankfulness will outweigh your caution. Due to the fact that it was designed in such a manner, the invitation has the sensation of being so ideal, so timely, and so in harmony with your dreams. The offer will specifically target the vulnerabilities that you have: your social media accounts, your public comments, your private troubles, your financial condition, your job goals, and your relationship patterns have all been analyzed by them. In this strategy, there is no element of randomness. If you place a high value on creative freedom, they will place an emphasis on autonomy while concealing constraints in provisions of the contract that you are supposed to ignore. In the event that you have a strong desire for recognition, they will guarantee awareness while simultaneously assuring that any success would directly benefit their reputation above yours. In the event that you require financial security, they will emphasize compensation while concealing the extent to which they will claim ownership of your output. The particulars have been crafted with the precision of a precision surgeon. You will be presented with the opportunity to fix your individual difficulties, fill your specific voids, and answer your requests that you have not yet expressed. We will present it to you as something that you are entitled to, something that you have earned, and something that acknowledges the exceptional abilities that you possess. A planned appeal to your ego is not something that happens by chance. You become theirs the moment you accept their offer. This does not happen instantly or in visible ways. Rather, the transfer of power occurs gradually and almost silently without your knowledge. There is a gradual establishment of a pattern of cooperation through the use of small concessions, minor compromises, and acceptable requests. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the Super Thank You button and give $20 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. The actual cost of the offer is not mentioned anywhere in the information that has been provided. The true cost is your ability to speak, your independence, and your own fate. Through their investigation, they were able to identify not just your aspirations, but also your strengths, which are the precise characteristics that make you a threat to them. It is precisely your autonomy, your genuineness, and your potential influence that they are attempting to undermine by means of this arrangement. They are not interested in destroying these traits. Rather, they want to take control of them, refocus them, and make them their own. During the presentation, you will be presented with a straightforward choice. Either you may accept their substantial offer and on with your life, or you can decline it and continue to be where you are. The use of this binary framing is intentional. They will pose these two options as the only two logical alternatives that are open to them. This decision will be presented as straightforward and nearly unavoidable. Either accept and move forward, or decline and remain in the same place. Continue to advance, or you will fall behind. Develop, or you will become irrelevant. They establish this erroneous distinction with great care through their language. The way they speak gives the impression that rational people always opt for acceptance. In contrast to the cautionary tales of people who hesitated for an excessive amount of time, their examples highlight success stories of those who went ahead and said yes. In point of fact, both options are helpful to them in equal measure. The act of accepting someone takes them under their influence, whereas the act of rejecting someone offers them justification for what is to come. Through your cooperation, you are transformed into an asset that they can use. Your signature becomes authorization for them to utilize your skills, redirect your energy, and extract your value. The story of your journey will serve as their marketing material, providing evidence of their generosity and demonstrating the crucial role they play in facilitating achievement. Your refusal serves their objective in the same way. It establishes you as difficult, unreasonable, and ungrateful. It justifies their subsequent marginalization of your voice, and it gives a pretext for the gossip campaign that will follow. An incredible opportunity was presented to them, and they made an effort to assist. They weren't ready. They couldn't see the bigger picture, they say, which is a rather unfortunate statement to make. Within their approach, they took into account the possibility of opposition from you. The fact that you are hesitant is not a barrier to their plan. Rather, it is a variable that they anticipate. Already, they have made accommodations for it. Among the most complex traps is the one that gives the impression of escape. All of your uncertainties were anticipated, all of your inquiries were practiced, and all of your worries were written down. The customer service representative, who is currently addressing your reluctance, has previously handled these very same points dozens of times. Despite the fact that their reassurances appear to be spontaneous, they are actually the result of a well-structured decision tree that was designed to eliminate particular arguments without changing essential terms. The offer itself is not the real constraint. Rather, the artificial limitations that surround it are the real sources of limitation. It's the deadline that was designed to prevent careful thinking from taking place. The phrase "this opportunity expires on Friday" generates a sense of urgency in situations where there is none inherently present. For the purpose of preventing the in-depth examination that would disclose the actual ramifications, the timeline has been artificially compressed. "We need to keep these discussions private" is the phrase that appears to be typical business procedure, but it actually serves as a sort of information quarantine. The confidentiality clause is designed to prevent you from obtaining the advice of an outside counsel. Because of this, you are unable to have access to the collective wisdom of those individuals who might recognize the patterns that you are experiencing for the very first time. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, answer it. Click Join to unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening. Step into your divine purpose. Join the chosen. This artificial scarcity manipulates your fear of permanent loss while disguising the reality that genuine opportunities rarely depend on immediate acceptance. The implication that this opportunity will never come again, the subtle suggestion that declining now means permanent exclusion, and the unspoken threat that the door, once closed, remains forever sealed, are all examples of this artificial scarcity. A premature investment is created as a result of the required gesture of good faith. This is the little commitment that develops psychological ownership before complete terms are known. It is the minor concession that works as the foot in the door, making following demands exponentially harder to refuse. The purpose of each component is to direct you toward engagement on their terms. Each limitation is designed to restrict your movement while maintaining the appearance of choice, and each constraint is engineered to direct you toward the conclusion that they have predetermined while maintaining your belief in the ability to make independent decisions. This approach was authorized by a specific individual. It was not the friendly intermediary whose name appears on communications, nor was it the passionate representative who speaks with such apparent openness about the possibility. These are nothing more than conduits, and they are frequently ones that are inadvertent, that channel decisions that are made in rooms that you have never entered by people that you have never met. Architects are the individuals who are responsible for determining goals, allocating resources, and measuring results. They are also the individuals who gain the most directly from the operation. This person sees your potential more clearly than you do, and if you give up, they will perceive it more clearly than you do. They have determined the implications that your voice could have if it were fully developed, the outcomes that your influence could achieve if it were directed appropriately, and the value that your talent represents in the marketplace of ideas. They are not afraid of your failure. Rather, they are afraid of your success on your own. It is not their intention to destroy the things that make you valuable. The technique is more complex. It is designed to divert your energy into supporting their stance, to absorb your authenticity into their brand, and to neutralize any threat that you represent by converting you into an asset. Establish the documentation. It may feature an organization, a firm, or an institution. However, it is important to keep in mind that organizations do not make choices. People do. More specifically, it is people who have specific objectives and have established that controlling you serves their interests. The quality of the offer is the genuine indicator of how concerned they are. The more generous it seems, the more significant the threat you represent to them. The more resources they have spent to obtaining your compliance, the more they stand to lose if you continue to be beyond their sphere of influence. This is not a business, rather, it is self-control. In the event that initial enthusiasm is not successful in securing quick commitment, the strategy will move in a subtle manner at first, and subsequently with growing intensity. The affable tone of the agent will gain an advantage, and conversations will incorporate elements of urgency that were previously absent. The fact that the window of opportunity is closing, others are expressing serious interest, is causing the decision-makers to become increasingly impatient. This artificially induced pressure has a specific objective, which is to short-circuit your process of deliberation, to activate your fear of losing out, and to stimulate decision-making from a position of worry rather than clarity. In the event that the use of gentle pressure is unsuccessful, they will resort to more direct strategies, such as the use of urgency. "We need your answer by Friday." Guilt. "After all the special arrangements we've made for you, fear this could be your last chance." And isolation. "We've discussed this exclusively with you, but that could change." Each remark has been meticulously calibrated to take advantage of common psychological triggers, and each statement is intended to generate emotional turmoil that obscures rational evaluation. It's not a coincidence that this causes chaos. It's a deliberate strategy. Under pressure, people rarely make excellent decisions. Instead, they tend to rely on their instincts, their emotional responses, and the path that presents the least amount of resistance. As opposed to being a negotiation, this is an ambush. People do not fall into traps because they are blind. Rather, they fall because they panic when they feel themselves getting emotionally reactive, nervous, terrified, desperate, or flattered. This is a valuable piece of insight that should be remembered. It is important to recognize these as warning indicators, which are the sensors that are being triggered at the perimeter of the trap. These feelings are not your genuine reaction to the opportunity. Rather, they are reactions that you have generated in response to pressure that has been applied skillfully. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $20 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. It is expected that the paper that they will eventually present to you would include 2 agreements. It is possible to negotiate the first one, which is visible and has been discussed. It includes the terms that they have given you permission to review and maybe amend. The actual agreements that will govern your partnership are included in the second document, which is buried in legal jargon that is concealed by complexity and portrayed as standard. That which looks to be a gift is in fact a contract, whether it is written or made verbally. The mechanism of control is activated immediately, regardless of whether you physically sign something, verbally agree to something, or simply proceed on the basis of mutual understanding. The hidden obligations include elements you would never consciously accept, perpetual restrictions that extend far beyond the stated time frame, sweeping claims on your future production, regardless of its relationship to this specific project, unilateral authority for them to modify terms without requiring your consent, severe penalties for withdrawal that make exit practically impossible, and mandatory arbitration clauses ensuring any disputes will be resolved in forums they control. The most binding limits will not appear as outright bans, but rather as reasonable expectations that gradually solidify into duties that cannot be broken. From that point forward, every interaction takes place within their framework. Every communication becomes evidence of your acceptance, and every collaborative effort further entangles you in a system that is designed to extract maximum value while returning minimum control. The illusion of choice immediately disappears the moment you engage with it. Rather than being a collaboration, this is an acquisition. The features that are the most hazardous are not those that are expressly forbidden by the agreement, but rather those that are implicitly normalized by it. These include the gradual loss of autonomy that is presented as a professional need. There is an unanticipated occurrence that takes place when you do not instantly cooperate. A flaw exists in their script. They anticipated either a resounding response of enthusiastic approval or a predictable negotiation over particular terms. They did not take into account your capacity to understand the actual nature of the arrangement when they developed their strategy. The earliest indication is a subtle change in communication, which manifests itself as a lengthening of reaction times, a minor increase in formality, and a noticeable decrease in the warmth that was characteristic of the earlier exchanges. These are not emotional responses. Rather, they are modifications to be made tactically. It is not because they have lost a possible contract that they are in a state of panic. Rather, it is because they have lost control of the story that lies behind their calm facade. The occurrence of emergency meetings, the re-evaluation of plans, the formulation of new ways, and the elevation of your name to the top of their priority list, from opportunity to concern, all occur simultaneously. Measurement of the public's reaction is expected to take place. Your reluctance may be met with laughter. They may show confusion at your concerns, and they may argue that you have misunderstood the typical practice in the sector. It is also possible that they will briefly withdraw, giving the impression that they have lost interest, when in reality they are readjusting their strategy. These performances are not authentic. Rather, they are intended to repair damage. Your response was not merely a rejection of an opportunity. Rather, it was a direct challenge to their system of acquisition, revealing ways that are dependent on remaining undetected in order to function effectively in their society. It is not an adversary who poses the greatest threat. Rather, it is a witness. It is because of your rejection that your standing in their evaluation shifts from that of a prospective asset to that of an active liability. It is possible that the shift will not be immediately noticeable. Retaliation rarely announces itself. Rather, it functions through proxies, through channels that appear to be unrelated, and through unlucky coincidences that maintain plausible deniability. The forms that this counteroffensive takes will be determined by the specific vulnerabilities that you have. These vulnerabilities include professional isolation, which occurs when colleagues subtly distance themselves after whispered conversations; reputation damage, which occurs when carefully planted rumors that are too specific to be random and too widespread to trace back to a single source; opportunity interference, which occurs when doors that were opening suddenly close, introductions are cancelled, invitations are withdrawn, and resource restrictions occur when funding sources reconsider, partnerships dissolve, and platforms limit access. To make independence so expensive that you reconsider their offer, to demonstrate control over your environment even without your consent, and to establish that defiance carries consequences beyond the immediate rejection are all part of the strategy. The goal is not simply to punish those who do not comply with the rules. Rather, the strategy is more complex. Rather than demonstrating strength, the fundamental truth that lies underneath these strategies displays desperation. Only frail systems require such harsh border management. Organizations that are confident in their authority do not have a need to eliminate individuals who choose not to join them. It is the degree of their response that immediately correlates to the legitimacy of your danger to their model. Their reaction is a measurement of precisely how significant your independence actually is. Systems that are founded on control have inherent vulnerabilities. The methods that are used against you demand confidentiality, coordination, and unquestioning cooperation from several parties. Each of these components constitutes a possible point of failure in the system. The very same trap that they set can end up being their undoing. The co-workers whom they attempted to turn against you begin to question the pattern. The rumors that they spread can be traced back to sources that are questionable. The pressure that they applied to third parties becomes evidence of interference. Their excessive reaction to your independence draws attention precisely where they do not want it to be, on their methods rather than their message. Every system of control will eventually collapsing under its own operating weight. The more energy that is spent to preserving compliance, the less energy that is available for creating actual value. The more resources that are assigned to suppressing alternatives, the fewer resources that are dedicated to strengthening their core product. This collapse does not occur all at once. Rather, it starts at the margins, with modest defections, minor exposures, and isolated concerns that gradually coalesce into serious issues. Your individual resistance may appear to be fruitless in the face of their institutional power, yet it is never just about taking a solitary stand. Rather, it is about making the first visible fracture in a facade that was previously thought to be impenetrable. Others, including those who have gotten offers that are comparable to yours, those who have accepted out of the same concerns that they attempted to build in you, and others who are now witnessing something that they did not know was possible, someone who has walked away without being broken. This demonstration opens up possibilities in areas where none were previously available. The reversal does not involve any active input from you beyond the initial refuse that was received. In your rejection, you were not only passing up a chance, rather, it was a sort of initiation ceremony. In the early aftermath, we may experience feelings of solitude, confusion, and even momentary difficulty. It is not that your decision has failed. Rather, it is that these events have confirmed the relevance of your decision. By demonstrating that your integrity cannot be bought, you demonstrated a vital point. You will have a different relationship with everything that comes after this presentation, which is largely directed toward yourself. Opportunities start to present themselves that you would have never had the chance to take advantage of had you accepted their offer. Additionally, you will be able to acquire access to resources that are not controlled by traditional gatekeepers, platforms that allow your voice to reach precisely those individuals who have the greatest need to hear it, and connections with other people who recognize and value real independence. On the contrary, these are not ethereal rewards for moral purity. Rather, they are the actual results of acting outside of trapped systems. You will be able to reach networks that are beyond the scope of traditional channels if you choose to refuse to be controlled. Internal change is the most significant shift that may take place. The clarity that enabled you to spot their genuine offer will serve as your standard for analyzing all of the proposals. Becoming the benchmark for decision-making requires you to have the fortitude to turn down opportunities that appear to be available. What appeared to be a sacrifice turns out to be an investment. What appeared to be rejection turns out to be selection. And what appeared to be isolation turns out to be curating. You are in a position to receive not only alternate possibilities, but also a fundamentally altered relationship with power itself, which will make the momentary losses seem insignificant in comparison to what you are positioned to receive.